What's going on? It's your boy Sermon at Sermon's Domain on Twitter. Following the success of Usher's No Limit single featuring Young Thug, he decided to release a remix. It's pretty big. It has Master P, Travis Scott, 2 Chainz, Gucci Mane, and ASAP Ferg. That's quite a lineup. Now, I wasn't a fan of the original. In fact, I hated the original. And I talked about this in my review for it. I just didn't feel like it was an Usher song. It felt more like something Young Thug whipped up for Usher. You know, you listen to the verses, they were very, Thug-like. So I didn't really care for the record, but apparently everybody else does because it's now in the Billboard Hot 100. It's number 37. But I have seen a lot of mixed reviews and reactions about it. And I think that's expected with any big single. I'm sure there's people that didn't like anything Drake had on the Hot 100. There's a lot of people that don't like Designer, but he had Panda number 1. So there's always going to be that confliction. So getting into this remix, I appreciated that he brought Master P on it. Because honestly, who else from No Limit were you going to bring on? You know, it's not someone like you were going to bring on Silk the Shocker or a Mystical, you know, even though you could very well do that. But if you're going to get anybody from No Limit, you probably want to get the head honcho, the big dog himself, Master P. Unfortunately, Master P is like a shadow of his former self. He doesn't really say too much that gets you hyped, gets you amped up like when he was, you know, in the Ghetto D days. He says stuff like, I've been bout it since bout it, and talks about how his ice gets her panties wet. Like, it's very average to the listener in this day and age. You have a lot of rappers that say stuff just like that. And at one point, Master P's talking about how he influenced people, to be hustlers, and he's influenced them a lot because you can hear certain lyrics from artists in this generation that you can tell like Master P sort of inspired that, whether directly or indirectly. He was one of the first really doing it like that. So I like that Master P was on the record, but I wasn't too big on his verse. 2 Chainz, who's been on one hell of a roll, his verse wasn't up to par with everything else. And I think when you come off of like Champions and Collie Grove and whatever else he's been on this year, like you have high expectations, and 2 Chainz didn't meet those. But I do have one thing I liked about the verse. I liked his reference to No Limit. So 2 Chainz said, you know, I'm the ice cream man. And that's a reference to Master P's album from the 90s. I thought that was probably the more creative way to like throw in a No Limit reference, as opposed to like Travis Scott and ASAP Ferg, who both compare themselves to Silk the Shocker. Like, why? You know, there's so many No Limit artists. I would think you'd want to like be clever and go outside the box. I'm not saying 2 Chainz was real like deep with it and went the extra mile, but at least he didn't say something, you know, so generic like comparing himself to Silk the Shocker. I mean, there's Mystical, there's Maya X, there's Magic, even Snoop Dogg. Hell, you can pick Cain and Abel. There's so many No Limit artists to choose from to drop a reference. So I was kind of disappointed in the references. And then we got to talk about Gucci Mane. He had the best verse for me, personally, because I like that he told a story. He talks about how, you know, the ups and downs with his girl. You know, from breaking up to getting back together to being locked up. And all of that happened and they're still together. I really liked his verse, and I've liked a lot of the stuff that he's been putting out lately. He's been really focused. It feels more like Gucci's verse could be tacked onto any song, really, or it could expand and become its own song. And I'm not saying that as a bad way. I'm just saying Gucci's verse was my favorite. But everybody else kind of is just there. You know, you got ASAP Ferg, and his flow was nice, but he's like that wild card, you know, like you got everybody else from the South and then you go and get ASAP Ferg. It's like that one random moment where you're like, why ASAP Ferg? I think if Usher wanted to continue to push this song, and I know he does because it's already in the top 40 on Billboard, he should do, you know, a South remix and then an East Coast remix and then a West Coast remix. But I don't know. I just can't get into this song no matter how many times I hear it, no matter how many remixes he makes. I'm sure there will be, if there's another remix, there might be some, good verses on there. I mean, we got the Gucci out of this one. But overall, I just can't get into No Limit. I can appreciate it because it's obviously working, but personally for me, it's just not a song for me. But I'm still looking forward to Usher's Flawed because more than likely it's going to be more R&B pop oriented than No Limit. So those are my thoughts on the remix featuring Master P, Travis Scott, 2 Chainz, Gucci Mane, and ASAP Ferg. I'll include a link in the description for you to check it out. And let me know what you think about it in the comment section below. Then like the video, subscribe to the channel if you're not already, share the video. Follow me on Twitter at Sermons Domain. And as always, thank you for your time. I appreciate you for watching. And until next time, peace.